Hi, thank you for tuning in to my official YouTube channel, Reverend MeeLing, Reverend Susan MeeLing. I've been known by a few names. I'm here with...
Gill Mangels. I'm the founder of the Miracle of America Museum.
And so how long has the Miracles of America Museum been around?
35 years, although been collecting for over 70 years.
Okay, is there anything that stands out to you that happens to be your favorite particular piece or section?
We're very diversified, so it'd be easier if you, but you'll notice a patriotic scene.
Okay.
And I served the military 3 years as a military policeman. I was stationed a year at West Point, just as an MP, not a cadet. And then 2 years in Frankfurt, Germany.
Okay.
And while I was there, I had an opportunity to take a leave and go up to Berlin. That's when the wall was still up.
Okay.
So I saw the difference going between West and East Berlin, the difference between freedom and slavery. So you'll find a patriotic flair to the museum. And the miracle, actually, although we've had several miracles happen to be established, actually refers to the miracle at Philadelphia where they had the Constitutional Convention. And the founding fathers designed the documents that made America the greatest nation on earth.
Absolutely.
Greatest and most generous.
Absolutely.
And today we're being, today we need to have the lessons that we teach here at the museum.
Absolutely. I very much agree with that. So, out of your time in the United States of America's Armed Forces Army branch, do you mind discussing where you went to basic training?
Oh, Fort Ord, California.
Okay. And
that was December and January. And it was cold down there, a lot colder than be right with you, folks. So I might have to excuse myself. Do you have a...
Oh,
You can edit.
Yeah, try to. I could try to.
Oh, my wife will take care of the orientation. But Fort Ord, California, then for 2 months, and then basic, and then I didn't know the Army system at that time. I was pulled in front of the company, by the company commander, to tell the troops how I was such a good rifle shot.
Okay.
I was a top firer in the company, and I should have said, because I follow your directions, sir. That's what I should have said. But instead I said, well, I grew up shooting gophers from childhood.
Well, that's definitely a way. You got to have good eyesight when it comes to that, right?
Right. And then I did military police training in Augusta, Georgia. Now I can't remember the name of it.
Was it Fort Benning?
Fort Gordon.
Okay, Fort Gordon.
They did military police and signal corps there.
Okay.
So and then I was first assignment was exactly a year to the day at West Point, New York. So that was very historic. West Point was so beautiful.
Oh yeah, the plants in Montana are very similar in certain regards to what's up in upstate New York.
Yeah, that's right. River frontage, the Hudson River.
Yeah.
Very deep, very swift.
Very cold.
Yeah. So, and I loved firing the cannon for raising and lowering the flag. On the point, we would that was a responsibility back then. I don't know if it still is. We're military policemen.
Okay.
So.
And then which war? World War II, correct?
No, not quite that old. No.
I'm not trying to.
1960 to 63.
Okay.
In fact, I got out the day that Kennedy was killed.
Oh.
I was reporting to the Selective Service Office to let them know my tour was up. And the sad news came over the radio, but I don't know what I was going to say, but at the time I didn't appreciate the Army as much as I do now. I was an independent farm boy, and I didn't always appreciate some of the
rules and regulations.
Yeah. So. Anyhow, so when I served, yeah. And by the time I got back, I consider that the Cold War, which I describe that as when the communists advanced without any resistance, because they kept enslaving country after country. And Khrushchev said they'd bury us. They would fall like overripe fruit in their hands. And today, 13th of June 2020, it looks like his thing could be coming true.
I truly hope that there's a way to fix that and prevent that from happening. You've seen that from experience.
Yes.
And so can you explain what you saw that would bring awareness to people, especially the younger generation, the millennials that don't necessarily understand what they're asking for as far as communism?
That's very true. A lot of them don't understand. They're not bad kids.
No, that's not.
But they've been taught or not taught the facts. And when I was in Berlin, it woke me up. I just kind of took my freedom for granted. I wasn't anti-American, at least. I wasn't anything particularly, and I certainly wasn't a racist. But between West and East Berlin, you went through Checkpoint Charlie, and in the West, which was a free sector, basically controlled by the Americans.
I'm going to move this camera a little bit further out so that way we sit together and get a little bit.
Volume still.
It's perfectly fine. So go ahead.
Yeah. So in the Western sector, which was a free sector, there was industry, there was families, there was picnics, there was laughing, smiling, industry. You went through Checkpoint Charlie in East Berlin. There were bombed out buildings. There were machine gun guards with machine guns. No building, no picnics, no laughing, no smiling. Just you're not allowed to take pictures of the guards. So there was a restraint there, and the depression. It's just hard to describe. And I've talked with other people that have been to Berlin as well, and were behind the Iron Curtain. Thank you, folks, for coming.
Yeah, we'll come back when you're
Oh,
available.
yeah, you just came in, didn't you?
We're looking for something to buy, a crate in your shop.
Did you see our gift shop here?
We'll be back. Oh, we'll be back.
Okay.
You're in the middle of something. It's important to us.
I'm sorry.
No.
You can edit out.
I'm actually really bad with technology, so it's just going to be.
Well, they know we're busy. Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing, though. It
Yeah.
shows that there are people that are still interested in the United States of America and finding the aspects of the better parts of history while learning from the more negative aspects.
Yeah.
So please do continue in that reference of what you saw as far as the Cold War.
Well, that depression that we felt in East Berlin, and grab a newsletter there, folks. Right there it talks about our live history days where we give rides and run a lot of the antique machinery and that.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. And so when I got out, the Vietnam War was just starting to heat up. Uh-oh. Hi there.
Got a question. Is it? Oh, it's not
Be
great.
right with you. And do you want to stop this?
If you want to go ahead
Or do you want me to orient them while you have it on?
that's perfectly fine. I can.
So where are you folks from?
Ms. Little, I was just wondering if it was free museum.
If what?
If it was a free museum.
No, that we have to charge to pay for the lights. I don't take pay,
Okay. Well,
but it's $10 each, and that and if for children it's from 2 to 12 is $5.
all right. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's how we pay the
We'll
license
do it
utilities.
next time. Thank you.
Okay, well thank you for checking.
Okay.
So anyhow, the Vietnam War was just starting up, and Vietnam protesters, the hatred for America was just starting, and I couldn't understand that. It just really bothered me because America has been the greatest nation on earth. We've helped just about we've got one display back there that shows food sacks where we sent bulgur and wheat. There's 14 different languages on those sacks, and some countries shared the same language. Some, especially Spanish speaking.
Yeah, there are very close similarities with a few different words that have very small
we,
differences.
we gave free milk to France. We raised money to help the poor, starving Armenians and other countries. And you know, today those same countries, many of them are spitting on us or killing our people. And so I was agonizing over this, and a thought came to me, inspiration, if you will, to use my antiques to teach how good America is. And so many of our antiques are symbolic of the message of America. And so we've had as many as 51 countries through in a year, different countries. And for many years we've had 50 states, all 50 states and as many as 9 provinces in Canada. Of course, being on the Canadian border, but now there's this virus saying,
The coronavirus lockdown.
yeah. And of course there's a lot of thought on that too. The corona's been around for years and years. They're getting a lot of mileage. so anyhow. But for example, the symbolism, the walking plow over there, that the horses or oxen or mules would pull, and the man would walk behind the plow guiding it. And the other primitive tools, for thousands of years, mankind worked with those primitive tools. And in less than 200 years after the Constitution, we went from the walking plow to walking on the moon.
Yeah.
Now, when you think about it, that's a miracle.
Yeah.
I mean, that tremendous progress. And the reason was that the Constitution guaranteed the freedom to build, to buy, to think up new ideas, make a better mousetrap, if you will. And of course, we have a mousetrap displayed down there, over 100 different ones.
100 different. I didn't even realize that there were over 100 different types of mousetraps.
Not just different patterns of paint. There's some very unique ones. And people thought, you know, well, in a free society, you think up ideas. Say, gee, if I make a better one, I can get more business. You know.
So, in retrospect, in regards to what you saw during the Cold War and the suppression in that regard, in comparison to America and the freedom to be able to create new ideas, did you see the ability to create new ideas when you were overseas during the Cold War?
Yes, the industry that was taking place in free western sector of Berlin.
So the free section, but the other side of the section where it was behind the Iron Curtain, you didn't have that same freedom?
No, because it was all government control. And, you know, it's...
there was no capitalism allowed.
Right, yeah. Capitalism has been made out to be a bad word, but it's not, because, I mean, there's some abuses. Maybe this CEO of a certain company is getting way more money than he's entitled to, but nevertheless, that company is giving people jobs.
Yeah, which allows the progression of the various aspects throughout all of humanity.
Yeah. Yeah, so you'll see that throughout the museum. A huge chain is in front of the Constitution display, and that's it's a huge logging chain, and that was to symbolize a quote by Thomas Jefferson. He said, "We must bind man, meaning government, men in government, down from mischief by the chains of the Constitution." And today we see lifetime members of Congress passing laws to constrict us, to do mischief to us. You know, so that's a quote. Then you also see antique scales in that section. That's a symbolize a balanced form of government. If you don't have any law, that's anarchy. If you have,
like what's going on in Seattle and Minneapolis right now.
Yeah, anarchy, and oftentimes a tyrant can take advantage of anarchy, seize control, he becomes a tyrant, and that reverts over to the left side of the spectrum, total control, and it comes under different names, so Nazism, fascism, communism, socialism.
Yeah, the aspects which realistically are not helpful for what the founding principles of the United States of America,
Right.
in the slightest. I mean, the Pilgrims came over from overseas to not only have religious freedom, but also to be able to progress in different ways, not forgetting the roots that they came from, but to expand upon that because of their religious oppression.
Yeah, yeah, freedom. They came over for freedom. Majority of them, but however, the King of England sent some colonists over. That's where we get the word colonist. To colonize more land for the crown. But what happened to the king? He got power hungry. There's a quote about power corrupts.
Well,
And absolute power corrupts absolutely.
if you have the ability
We're looking at all
to
this.
you have to have that ability to be.
Yes. And so the Declaration of Independence.
They want some corn.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
So, anyhow, that's the result of the Declaration of Independence was, today the kids, they think that's the same as the Constitution. They don't realize that the Declaration of Independence was to tell the king, look, you're doing all these abuses, shape up, or we're gonna declare our independence.
Which
And
is
so-
essentially, if you think about it, what the individuals in Seattle, Washington, and Minneapolis have attempted to do in comparison to the United States of America, while being in the United States of America. What is your opinion on that?
Well, these poor souls, some of them are deliberate, trying to destroy America, I think, but there's some of these poor souls that just get on the bandwagon because it's something to do. They're being recognized. When you see the BLM, Black Lives Matter, being written on a sidewalk because of this one man that was killed by this errant policeman. Mm-hmm. Well, what happened to the that killed the blacks? What happened to the policeman that killed a white? Maybe an errant one, or maybe it was an accident. Maybe the guy was reaching for his wallet and the cop thought he was pulling a gun. I mean,
And you being
can
a
happen.
former MP, in a different aspect in that regard.
Yeah, you got to protect it. You want to protect your life so you can protect others' lives. And so if you're not, that's a problem. A lot of people, these play guns. I don't know. I've got mixed feelings about having kids have access to all these play guns that look so real. I mean, I believe in the Second Amendment, but there needs to be teaching.
Yes.
And today we don't have a lot of teaching of our youth.
That is an individual's aspect in that regard, and there's a lot of different points which need to be paid attention to as far as gun safety, and I am very much for the Second Amendment myself. However, I very much agree that not only, in my opinion, not only is it the firearms or the toys that look very similar to firearms, but even the video games and the movies.
Yeah, very violent, very violent. And should those things be allowed? Well, here we've got the freedom. Here we got the balance. And you need to look at the balance from government. Let's discuss these things but still protect the rights of the people, and protect all the people too. And the Constitution was the most perfect document next to the Ten Commandments or the Beatitudes.
The intention.
That was the most perfect document made by man, if you will. So.
The founding fathers and founding mothers did quite a bit of work for that. It wasn't like they did it overnight.
No, it took
Years.
days and days, and some of them were fighting almost
Fisticuffs.
physical.
Fisticuffs, yeah.
So, what you're hearing in the background is one of our music machines in the museum. It's a violin piano, 1912, made by Mills Company. They also made gambling machines, but this was something that everyone could enjoy. So it takes a quarter, and anyhow, this is an aside.
So, in regards to referencing in what's happening in Seattle and Minneapolis, do you see certain similarities in regards to one side or the other of the Iron Curtain in that regard?
Yes, if you look at history, you'll see that Hitler, Stalin, Lenin did the same thing. They got the people divided, and they destroyed the local police so the government police could come in. I can't, because we're a nonprofit museum, I can't be involved in partisan politics here, but I see a historical pattern of exactly what happened in these. Not hardly any difference between Nazism and communism, really.
No, not realistically when you look at the historical aspects. And you running a museum, you have that available aspect of history all throughout.
Yeah, and we have books, and we have actual photographs brought home by GIs of piles of bodies when they liberated some of these camps over in Germany, and the communists did the same thing. You know, they what they called the undesirables, they would execute them, mass graves, burn them, and, you know. And
so, hold on real quick. Are you afraid that that is something that is a possibility in regards to if the Seattle and Minneapolis and even certain other areas throughout the United States of America, if that continued revolt occurs, is that something you're afraid of in regards to the repeating of history and possibly see? I personally can see where if certain things aren't.
Hi there. Hi. Be right with you.
Okay.
I can personally see how if certain things are not taken care of, the martial law aspect being put into place.
Exactly.
And so I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much, Gil. I'm going to go walk around the museum.
Okay, if I can answer any more questions. Well,
You have a
I
go.
wish I didn't catch my pot belly on that.
No. You have a good one. Thank you.